the Delifrance webinar hosted by Via Franchise Consulting. My name is Sean No, and I will be the MC for today's webinar. Before we start with the presentation, we would like to begin by playing a brief introductory video about Delifrance. So again, on behalf of VF Franchise Consulting and Delifrance, I would like to welcome you all to our webinar today. In case you missed it earlier, my name is Sean No, and I will be the MC for today's webinar. Just a few things to remember before we get started. One, we will have a question and answer session after the presentation. Due to the large number of participants, please type your questions into your device of choice. We are very excited because we have over 100 registrations as of today. If you are using a PC, you can enter your questions at any time by clicking in the question box at the bottom right of your screen and hit enter. In some mobile devices, it is also located there at the bottom right, or it can also be in the menu section up on the upper left of your mobile device. If you are seeing the menu bar at the top of the left of your screen on your mobile device, you can select the chat option and type your question in there as well. We will follow up with you in the next few days via email with the Delifrance franchise information. So keep a lookout for our email, which will include links to the presentation today, the franchise application, and confidentiality agreement. Now, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Robert Beausoleil. Robert has over 30 years of F&B and retail operations experience, and he has worked with international brands such as the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, and more recently Bon Chon Chicken, along with many other leading brands. As the Director of Franchise Operations and Development for VF Franchise Consulting, he is well-versed in presenting today's Delifrance webinar. And now we would like to hand over the webinar to Mr. Robert Beausoleil.
For that, Sean, and good afternoon to everyone. I'm really happy to be speaking this afternoon on behalf of Delifrance. You know, almost everyone loves French food, particularly French bakery products and pastries. So I'm sure that you're all excited as well to be here, and we have a lot of information to share. But as Sean mentioned, don't worry about taking a lot of notes. We will send you a link so that you can see the same presentation later. So let's get started. So Delifrance, perhaps a lot of you have already heard of this brand. It has a more than 100-year history, began back in 1919, where the company really had a strong passion for high quality French bakery products. So they started actually with the flour. So they had a flour mill. They were making the flour and supplying French bakeries all around France with their products. A little bit later, just 10 years later, they opened what is still regarded as one of the finest bakery schools in France. It's located in Paris, and it is still operating today. Eventually, they opened their own restaurants and cafes. So under the Delifrance name, they started in 1984 and started to expand throughout Europe. So they have a long history. They know what they're talking about. They also have a long history here in Asia. So they're well known. They've been in Asia for more than 30 years as well. So who are they? Well, they're very passionate, as I said, about bakery. They put all of that passion into providing a customer experience like nobody else. So they feel like when you bake better each day, you live better each day. And they control the chain from the very beginning. So right from the farmers growing the wheat to the millers who are changing the wheat into pastry flour, to the school where their bakers get trained, right through to the staff and to their customers. So because of this, they can guarantee a very high quality product. They guarantee a very unique customer experience so that everybody is happy. So a little bit about the way that they think. So their core values, you may not be able to read some of these slides, but we'll follow up with them, so don't worry. Their core values, creativity and talent. So they really look for talented people for their team to make the exact perfect flour for various pastries, to create the products that everybody loves, to be able to train their franchisees on how to do it consistently. They have a strong passion for quality, and they really believe in sharing. And the way they do that is they always maintain a very good relationship with all of their master franchisees in various countries. They communicate very well. So they're not stuck on just saying, here, you have to do this menu, you have to make these products, but they really are able to be flexible, to mold the concept to be the right concept for each of your markets. So I know we have people from around the world on this webinar, and Delifrance isn't a one kind of shop fits every single country, and they understand that. While a beautiful baguette or croissant is going to be the same, perhaps, but when they make a sandwich, the products on top are going to be different. So they work with their franchisees to really take their baked products, what's made them great worldwide for the last 100 years, but be flexible enough with local ingredients and styles of the units, which we'll discuss a little bit later, to make it successful in your local market. So at the core, they are bakers and chefs. Every brand has something that they stand for, but really with Delifrance, it's all about the product. It's all about a little bit of fun. It's about French style and French food. And they really want to share this product with all of you and with all of their customers worldwide. So they can bring this French food culture to your market in a wide variety of ways. with a very unique menu. So you can see some of the pictures of their products if you can see it on your screen. But like I said, they're really bakers at heart. They have long-time, very experienced bakers. They have Michelin star chefs working for them. And they offer a full menu of options. So they have soups and salads. They have sandwiches. They have hot snacks and hot dishes. They do patisserie and desserts. Of course, they have a wide variety of beverages. They have breads, and some of their units, they even serve wine. One of the unique things that some of their franchisees have done, which would include their Malaysian stores, is they even have a small bakery workshop in some of their restaurants, so they can really show to the customer, let them see the product, let them smell the baked products coming out of the oven. Of course, that's great for marketing. That's also great for the right ambiance in any sort of bakery. And it really allows you to market that made-in-store option. So people really know that the product is going to be fresh. And speaking a little bit about their product, you can see that they have a full menu options. They do all-day dining. So they have two different types of stores. The one store is their bakery and cafe program. So this is really a cafe, focuses a lot on the drinks, but does croissants and pastries, sandwiches, snacks, light foods, salads, light lunch, afternoon tea. A lot of markets will go with these units, but they also have a bakery and bistro program. So this would be more like a casual dining restaurant. So they still have all of those same great products, but now you've added more hot dishes, really focused even on dinner or after dinner foods. Now in this slide, it's a little bit complicated, but basically talks about the customer journey. So because they've been around so long, because they're in so many different markets, so many different countries, they really understand their customers. And that's great for all of you potential franchisees because they know what is going to work in, let's say, a location that's near a university, or a Delifrance in a hospital, or in the downtown district where there's a lot of offices, or even in a shopping mall. So with that history, with that experience that they have, they can help you design your restaurants, your cafes, your bakeries in all of the different locations with the right menu to help you be the most successful. Now, this is one of the most important slides. So this really shows you that, in general, the three main styles of formats that they have. So they do some very small formats. So you can see there on the left, the mobile basically is a pastry and bakery display. You could put this in the hallway of a shopping mall. You could put it in a small supermarket that doesn't have its own bakery. You can put it in convenience and corner stores. It really is quite flexible. And you can then offer your great French bakery products to customers that are walking by or in that area. Their normal cafe model is obviously a little bit larger. So it ranges from about 40 square meters to 100 square meters in size. You can see it in that middle picture. You see that it can be counter service, it can be a full grab and go, or it can be actually table service, up to you and up to what is right for your market. For their restaurant, you can see this on the right. This is their new style, their new design. It's usually from 100 to 300 square meters. And it would be normally full service, but also have takeaway, can even have delivery. And that would have those full menu options that we discussed earlier. So here's the new design. So as mentioned, even though they have a long history, they really are not just, they don't just sit back and think that they've been around so long, that everybody loves them the way they are. They want to stay current. They want to stay modern. So they have a new design in the last 5 years. It was a long time in development. You can see some of the photos here in this slide. It's quite nice because it's modern, yet has that French elegant style, comfortable, very strong and interesting colors. So I think that if you put this somewhere, it's going to be very noticeable for your clients. It's going to attract a lot of attention. Now the next slide has also a few more details of smaller elements that are available inside the cafes or the restaurants. You can see the deep red, the deep gray, or the deep blue, also some copper tones for the colors. And the top right, you can see that a particular restaurant even serves the wine. So as we mentioned, Delifrance is available in many countries around the world, but their new concept stores, the pictures that you just saw, their new Phoenix design, they call it, is available in about 12 countries. And here is some of the photos of actual units that they have around the world. So you can see some in Europe, Holland, Amsterdam, Belgium. You can see some in Asia. There's a middle picture of Hong Kong. The bottom right one is in Sri Lanka. Got Italy, Shanghai, Jakarta in Indonesia. And you can see while each of the units is slightly different, it has that same theme, same design running through, so you get that brand recognition that you're really looking for. So they really want to grow, to be even more popular, to enter even more countries, which is why we're having this webinar to introduce this brand to you. But they want to do it in the proper way. So they want to do it with consistency. They continue to focus on their existing stores, how they can do things better. And they have a lot of interesting ways to get their branding across. So they have digital tools. They have storytelling within their store to explain the history of Delifrance, to really let people know that they are an international brand, that they have a unique and long history, help to make their customers feel that they're part of something. They have a lot of branding in their menus, in their packaging. You can see the coffee cup there, very bright colored, has the Delifrance logo on it. And they have some very interesting objectives. So if you can read them, they have 3 objectives currently with their new concept. They're really focused on increasing turnover per store. So higher traffic, how to bring more customers into your units after you open, and also how to get a higher transaction amount so you can maximize each of your customers. They want to be the worldwide leader in French-style bakeries and cafes, French-style restaurants. And that's really good because that means their whole experienced team is constantly reinventing itself, coming up with new ideas, new marketing campaigns, and new ways of introducing the brand to even more people. And they're focused on doing a lot now to reinforce the attractiveness of the Delifrance brand. So this new restaurant designs that you've seen, their new stores, their new packaging, even their new menu offerings have all been to really set themselves separate and as special in your marketplaces. Now there's a lot of information here, but they have a couple of the interesting points is in their new concept stores that have only been in the past year. They have 57 of these stores in about 12 countries. And a lot of these are renovations from previous stores. And if you notice there that the average increase from the old design to the new design and the new menu, they've achieved a plus 25% average turnover increase. So for any existing cafe or existing restaurant to all of a sudden do a small renovation, reopen, and have a 25% increase, that means that it is being really well accepted by the local customers. So we're really happy with that number. We're happy with some of the other numbers on this slide about how many customers visit our stores, how many croissants we make every year. We also have a very good balance of sales mix. So one of the smaller charts in there talks about the breakdown of the sales in one of our restaurants. So we have about 1/3, 33% drinks. We have 27% sandwiches, 22% hot dishes. We have some salads, breakfast menus, and pastries. And that really indicates a very healthy restaurant. You're not, everybody's not just coming for one item that may go out of style. Really, it's a well-rounded product that's going to appeal to a lot of different people. So now we focus a little bit on why you should choose Delifrance. So why is it interesting to a potential franchisee? Why would you want to bring it to your local market? Well, there's quite a few reasons. Besides everybody loving French bakery, Delifrance particularly has traceability from field to fork. In other words, they know right from the farmers who are growing the product to the mill that's grinding the flour and creating the right balance, to the chefs and bakers in the restaurant, all the way through their franchisees, their service staff, and right to the customer. And speaking a little bit about supply chains, one of the nice things about Delifrance, of course, you can advertise that made in France. So you will be getting certain products that will come directly from France, a lot of your key products, which gives you the consistency. It makes you very unique in your marketplace. You can advertise that made in France. But it also really gives you that high quality product as well. Now, however, they also have a factory in Thailand. So closer in our region, the products there are less expensive. They're obviously easier and cheaper to transport and import because it's part of ASEAN. So you can also get products from their Thai factory. And a lot of the products are made locally. So you bake things in your stores, you create the sandwiches and the other products fresh within your restaurants. So you're using a lot of local ingredients. So they have a lot of different options depending on your country, depending on the type of unit that you're going to build. If you're in a very premium area, you might want to go with the made in France marketing idea, the very best product that you can make, made from the very best ingredients. However, it may be a suburb or in an area where they don't have the spending power, then it would be good to do more things locally or using the Thai factory. So back to the credentials, they're always making new products according to market trends, so they keep a very close eye on what's going on in the bakery market, what's going on in the cafe, French restaurant market. So they're always coming up with new ideas to make sure that your restaurants stay current and stay popular with your customers. So they do have a 100-year history of baking. They have the right product, they have the right school, they have the right people to really know what to do and what not to do. Really all of the best elements that you would want in a franchisor. They do have an Asian-based support team. So for ongoing operational support and empowerment, they're well suited and ready to assist anybody in our region. And they have even won a lot of awards for their cafes and for their products. Now, the main slide that you've all been waiting for is here. One of the most important things for any franchise is their training. And especially when you're talking about the food and beverage industry, training and support becomes very critical. It's key. So they're very unique in the fact that they have their own bakery school, been around for almost 100 years. So your chef team, your bakery team can get training right there in the Paris school. They also, secondary, they do menu training in your restaurant in your country, which is another 5 to 10 days. And then they come back for your soft opening. So just before you open your first restaurant or your first cafe, about 5 days before, they send another team to make sure that you get that really key soft opening correct and make a very strong market impact. So you have 3 different trainings available for your first unit. And depending on the situation, they can support for the second and maybe even the third store as well if it's needed. So they have a great training up front, but they also have ongoing training. So every year they're going to come to your stores, they'll do their annual visits, but they don't just come for the quality control check to make sure you're handling and representing the Delifrance brand correctly. They also come to do refresh training, so they'll do that with all of the new staff. They also bring the new recipes and new items that have been developed. They can make them for you, demonstrate, and of course teach you how to do it if it looks like an item that would be suitable to launch in your marketplace. So that's the training. Now on the main terms, we have in the commercial conditions some very good things. You have a 20-year term, which is very long. A lot of franchisors only offer a 5-year. So with Delifrance, it's a 10-year plus a 10-year renewal. So they expect to have a long-term relationship with their master franchisees. There is a master franchise territory fee. Now that varies depending on the territory, the country. Basically, the larger the area that you choose as a development, the more that's going to cost. They do have a small store fee. The royalties are very reasonable. They're 5%. And the marketing, they expect you to spend about 3% in marketing. But you do not pay that to Delifrance. That is what they expect you to spend in your local market. They are looking for master franchisees, so you will have the ability to sub-franchise. They're looking for people who are going to take a country or a large portion of a country and open 10, 15, 20 units, not just for single individual bakeries. For the rest of the commercial conditions, we can discuss individually later as we follow up. So for store costs, how much it really costs to open a store, obviously varies a lot depending on which style of unit that you're doing. for the development schedule of how many units you have to do and how long of a period, and for the exact master franchise fee for your country. I'd be happy to discuss that with you on an individual level later on. And that is the 30-minute brief introduction to Delifrance. So thank you all for listening. I hope we covered a lot of information that would be, kind of the top things that you would want to know as you consider this very exciting brand. We do have quite a few questions, so we'll go through all of your questions now. You can continue to enter questions into your device, and we will review them one by one as we go.
Thank you very much, Robert, for sharing a lot of great information about Delifrance. Now it is time for our Q&A session. So please remember to ask Mr. Robert your questions by typing into your device. There should be a box at the bottom of your screen if you are using a PC. And if you are not, if you are using a mobile phone, it could be at the top or at the bottom. So it looks like we have quite a few questions already, so let's begin.
So Lisa asks, is Delifrance really more a restaurant, cafe, or bakery? That's a very good question. Actually, it's all three. So the foundation is always being a bakery. It's always the pastries, it's always the breads, but they do have both a restaurant model, like casual dining, they have a cafe model, or even a pure bakery model. So all three of those well describes what Delifrance is. So JC asks, which market? So Delifrance is already in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Japan. So those three countries are not available. All of the other countries are currently available. Some of them were in talks already with different groups, but currently all of the rest of the markets are available. So as long as you are not in Indonesia, Malaysia, or Japan, Delifrance is still available in your local market. So how big are the stores? So you can start with those bakery displays at only 2 square meters, but their cafes are usually 50 to 100 square meters in size, and their restaurants can vary between 100 square meters and 300 square meters. That information is in the presentation that you'll be able to look at a little bit later when we follow up by email. So Rania asks, my market is price sensitive. Can Delifrance still work? So that's a fantastic question, especially for the Asia region. So Delifrance works already in a lot of countries. It can be considered quite premium, that made in France, you can put very expensive ingredients, make very premium sandwiches, but you can also go the other direction. Because you use, there's a lot of local customization available. You can use the products that are made in the Thai factory instead of France. You do source a lot of your products locally. So we can do a lot of things to go both premium or very suitable for the C plus B market segments, casual, normal people, even in developing countries. So Delifrance can work virtually anywhere with the right partner. So a similar question, Lisa asked, can I localize the product? I think I just addressed that. But there are, of course, like any brand, there are certain things that you cannot change. Their croissant, their baguette, those types of products are not flexible, and you don't want them to be, because that's what establishes you. That is what has made Delifrance successful for so long, so many years. However, there is a lot of localization available. What types of salads, exactly what toppings on the sandwiches, the drink menu, and they'll work very hard with you directly at a later stage to make sure you get the right menu for your market. Now, Thomas asks, how long is training and who needs? So they have a fantastic training program. So as the franchisee or the GM or the business manager, they have some training focused on how to run the business, how to be a master franchisee, how to develop all of the things at the strategic level. So they'll work very closely with you on that part. For the bakery, we discussed it briefly already, but you have 3 different trainings, and this would be for your core bakery team, your core chef team. So training in their school, 5 to 10 days. Training in your restaurants or cafe, 5 to 10 days for menu training. And then additional training and support during the opening of your first cafe or 2. So John asks, what are you looking for in a franchisee? Well, pretty well for any brand, they're looking for people with some experience in F&B. Doesn't have to be in French bakery, of course, but an idea about how the industry works, some knowledge of the local market, access to good locations, some maybe industry connections. It's very important that you know your country, you know your city or your territory very well, because that's what we expect a franchisee to bring to the table. As a franchisor, we know the brand, we know the product, we know the marketing aspect. There's a lot of things that Delifrance brings to the table, but that local knowledge is really what we need from a franchisee. Need to be willing to work hard and be active to make sure that you're successful. So Lisa also asked, what products do I need to buy from France? So this is a very good question. So Delifrance has a specific list of items that you must purchase from them. You can get it from France. You can get most of them from Thailand. You can get extra ones that are optional, but a lot of franchisees choose to get them because of the high quality, because of the ease of use, and because of the consistency. But there's also a high percentage of stuff that it is done locally. So John asks, if I'm interested, what do I do next? So after this webinar, so either later today or tomorrow, everybody who attended will receive an email from us. So please have a look for it. Watch out to make sure it doesn't go in your spam box. But it will have the presentation that we just reviewed together, so you'll be able to study it in more details. There's a lot of information that I just ran over very quickly. Also, there will be an application and an NDA form. So for us to speak further, then what we'll do is schedule, respond back to our email, and I'm willing to have a one-on-one call with you to discuss your particular market, to discuss some of the more detailed questions that you might have. but we only do that after you send us back the application and the non-disclosure agreement. That's really what allows us to know who you are, and also kind of a guarantee that you don't share the sensitive information that we will discuss during those calls. Doesn't mean that you're going to take the brand. It's just the next step in the process. So how long will it take for the process? So a lot of that depends upon you. So we will follow up very quickly. If you respond back with the NDA and the application quickly, we have that conversation, which really goes into a lot more detail. A lot of times after that, you will choose to go visit some of the Delifrance units so that you can see what they look like, so you can try the product. But basically, we go through any questions and due diligence that you might want before we get to any agreement stage. That often can take anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 months. But again, it's really up to the franchisee. If you want it to move quickly, we can move fairly quickly as well. So are most of Delifrance products frozen? So that's a good question from Zoe. I wouldn't say that most of them are frozen, but obviously the ones, the pre-made ones that are coming from France or Thailand are going to come frozen. You're also going to be getting the flour to do some of the baking yourself. But a lot of the products are made fresh in the stores. So sandwiches and soups and salads, all of the drinks. So a lot of the products, just like most cafes or most premium cafes and restaurants, most of the product is actually made in the store. Another good question from Rania. So who makes menu and pricing decisions in my market? So as I kind of mentioned a few times, Delifrance is very flexible. Their team understands that every market is different, and they really want to make sure that you're successful. So they will have a lot of discussions with you that work very closely with their master franchisees to really make the right menu decisions and to make the right pricing decisions. Because if they try to do a menu or pricing that works in Europe, obviously that's not going to work in the Philippines or in Vietnam. So you will get a lot of input as long as it is within the branding guidelines, within the realm of reasonableness. Delifrance knows the area well as also. So together you work closely to make sure that you have the right menu and pricing for your market. So John asks, how many stores do I need to open? So that's also a very good question. It depends on the territory. So if you are taking Cambodia, for example, the answer is going to be very different than if you take all of the Philippines. So depending on the size of the territory, normally the smallest development deal is 10 units. It can go to 20 or even 30 for a very large territory like Indonesia or similar. So that's something that we would discuss later. You tell me by email after you receive the email from me what territory you are, what you're looking at, what country, and we can discuss exactly how many stores. So Aaron asks, how much is the cost of master franchising and what and how many are the required stores? So the master franchising fees will vary by territory, but they will fall somewhere between 200,000 euros to 400,000 euros based on the territory. So a city, or let's say South Vietnam would be one territory, would be different fee than if you took all of Vietnam. Or Thailand would be a very different fee than Singapore. So this is something, Aaron, please ask me later. Same with the required stores, which we covered already. So one of the questions was who are the key competitors, which someone answered in the chat, but Thomas asks. So there are some competitors like Paul, Bread Talk, but in a lot of cases, your competitors are going to be single unit mom and pop French bakeries or French restaurants, normally maybe with a French expat. They can make good food, but oftentimes it isn't consistent and it isn't scalable because you need that particular French baker or French chef in the kitchen because you don't have a system like the Delifrance. So there are some like Bread Talk, which would be at a lower quality level, but very available in the market. Each market is going to be different. If you're operating the cafe version or format, pretty well any cafe we would consider to be a competition. So even Starbucks or Coffee Bean could be considered competitors if you're doing the cafe model. So the last question I have, can I open 1 or 2 units first in the Philippines by Rania? So we're not looking for single unit franchisees. As I mentioned, we are looking for master franchisees who will develop a territory. So the smallest development schedule that Delifrance will accept is a 10-unit deal in 5 years. And can be more depending on the territory. So it is possible that you take a single city or a single island group, but you're going to have to do more than 1 or 2 units to develop your territory. Got a new question from Aaron. Will the croissant and baguette be coming in from Thailand frozen? So yes, there are certain baked products that come in frozen, so they're called what we call ready bake. So they come in frozen, and you bake them fresh every day inside your central kitchen or in your restaurants and cafes. So there's different formats to determine where exactly you bake them. It's always nice to do them fresh in the restaurant, but for really small units and small cafes, then you would bake them at a central location or maybe at one of your larger units and then deliver them fresh to your outlets. But yes, some of the products are made and come in frozen. So I think that is all of our questions. So thank you very much, everybody, and I'll turn this back over to our MC, Sean.
Thank you, Robert. That was a very interesting and informational session about the Delifrance franchise. Very much appreciated. VF Franchise Consulting offers a wide variety of franchises in food and beverage, education, services, and retail. We regularly run business matching events in possibly many of your countries. So please be on the lookout for our event. We are clearly doing more webinars these days due to the current situation, especially with the travel restrictions that we have. We look forward to following up with you with more detailed discussions about Delifrance shortly. So we will be following up with emails, as mentioned earlier, and it will contain the franchise presentation that Mr. Robert just reviewed, as well as the franchise application, on the confidentiality agreement. Completing those forms is the next step, and it does not bind you into acquiring the franchise, but it will allow us to provide you with much greater detail about the franchise opportunity for your country. Thank you very much. Have a great day.